Hi, I'm Maren. Welcome back to my channel, Maren Makes It. Today we're going to pick off where we left off last week with everything that I have in my car, all my car and road tripping essentials, things I never take out of my car. We're going to be going over what I have in the back row of my car. Originally I was going to make this all one video, but it was just so much footage and so long that I decided to break it up into 3 parts. So we did the front row, today we're going to do the back row, and the next time we're going to do the trunk of the car. So let's get into it. So on the back of my driver's side, I have a car organizer, which I'm going to show you now. I'll take you through kind of the highlights of what's in there. I think this has been really helpful to keep myself organized and not just have things floating all around the car as I travel around. It is sometimes annoying that it's on the back of the driver's side, but the back of the passenger seat becomes inaccessible when I set up my car for car camping in the way that I do. So it makes more sense to have it this way. So let me take you through this car organizer now. We'll just go pocket by pocket. I guess that's kind of the easiest way to do it. This very top pocket, I have honestly nothing. Pocket here, I have another little pouch. This pouch is going to be filled with all kinds of feminine products, basically, because that way you can just take it out, take it with you to the bathroom and be super discreet if you need it. Sorry to my guys watching, but that is just part of life as a female. Right in here, I have ibuprofen and also Tylenol. So both of the probably main 2 medications that I ever need. And that's really the only 2 things in this little tiny side compartment here. Obviously, there's also an extra spot right here, but I don't have anything in there as of right now. On the other side compartment right here, I have some antifungal powder, which really I just use mainly if I'm like super sweaty to absorb some sweat. I used to have a fungal rash really bad for a while, so this was really helpful for me to have. Right here, I have some flossers, so I guess it's kind of redundant to what I have in the front seat, but I do have some flossers as well. Little middle compartment here, I have a deck of playing cards. Actually, they have little people on them that look like s'mores. This is something that I've only used once or twice, but it is very fun to be the person who has cards with them, and kind of it gives people something to bond over when you're just meeting them. And cards is something you can play anywhere in a campground or wherever if you don't have service. And I also thought it was adorable that they have a little s'mores man on them. Here, this is a bag of rubber bands, and this right here is a fold-upable funnel. So you can use this if you ever have to put more fluid in any of the compartments under the front hood. Realistically, the only thing that I actually use this for is to put more windshield wiper fluid in my car, because that's really the only thing I do myself on a regular basis. Take a look at this next shelf down of compartments here. We see I have a little thing of hand lotion, which is always helpful. Right here, I have a blanket that rolls up really tight, which is great as an emergency picnic blanket, or even I've used it as a towel at a spontaneous swimming trip. The next thing in here is going to be a first aid kit. So obviously that is super useful and something you should definitely have for a long road trip. So it has all kinds of things in it, and I basically just bought one that was pre-made because I figured that would be much easier than putting together one myself. But of course you could definitely DIY something like this. The next thing in here I have is gloves, which seems absurd right now because it is 105 degrees out, but in the winter it is really nice to have a pair of gloves that just actually stays in the car, whether that is because you have to scrape ice off your car or just because the steering wheel is cold. The next thing in here is a lint roller. Obviously, I use this lint roller as basically a emergency vacuum. So no, the lint roller is not as good as an actual vacuum, but it is pretty decent, as you can see, at picking up hairs and little crumbs, and it is much more convenient before the mess spreads to be able to pick it up with the lint roller. When you're traveling or camping in your car, crumbs and dust and dirt noticeably accumulate faster than just regular use of a car, and so I found having this lint roller in my car very, very helpful. I hope you're enjoying this video so far. If you are, don't forget to hit the like button down below, hit that thumbs up. By doing that, you're basically voting for this video and telling YouTube, yes, this is a good video that they should recommend to other travelers and people who might be interested in this content. Gone through everything in the center compartment, so the last thing over here is going to be a can of sunscreen. It's the kind you spray on. That obviously is very useful for spontaneous outside adventures. This organizer is actually detachable, so it velcros on and off, and what I keep in here is Any guesses? Put in the comments down below if you have a guess before I open it and reveal it. But I have utensils, plastic straws, basically anything you would need for a picnic. I also have little packets of salt and sugar in here. Basically, I like to keep this stuff in the detachable pouch because that way, if I were ever to have a picnic or want to sit at a picnic table outside, I could just grab that pouch, take it with me, and not have to repack everything. Also, I can just take that pouch off, put it in my hiking backpack, and go for a hike if I need it for that kind of a setting. So it's been really useful for me to have my utensils in a detachable pouch like that. That is a feature of this little car organizer that I have made really good use of. All right, so I am moving over in the back seat to show you now what's on the passenger side, what's behind the passenger side instead. So we did what's behind the driver's side, that was that car organizer, and now we're gonna look behind the passenger side instead. So the first thing that's laying on the floor at all times here is a good old roll of paper towels. Such a staple, such an important thing to have. I think this is something that probably everybody, I feel like, almost has in their car at all times. Not very interesting. The next thing is this metal bar that's always on the floor, which I suppose you could use maybe in self-defense one day, but mainly I just have it there to keep the stuff that's under the passenger side seat, and to keep it from rolling out from that seat. What is actually behind the passenger seat that is being kept back by that bar is, first of all, this. So this is perfectly sealed. I have not opened this yet. And this is a bottle, obviously, of electrolyte. If you are camping in hot places or traveling a lot and doing a lot of outdoor activities in hot places, and you're prone to dehydration like me, having something like this can be the difference literally between you having a trip to the emergency room and you not having the trip to an emergency room. And so I found that just having one of these in the car at all times is really helpful. Now, is it ideal to have it always being heated up with your car and the fluctuations in temperature that your car has? Probably not, but I do still think that having this is better than nothing. Something I could switch to in the future possibly is to do those liquid IV type packets and then be able to mix it as I would need it. That would maybe be better than having a plastic bottle always in the car that gets heated up and then cooled back down. But on the other hand, sometimes you are also low on water. And so usually I also have a sealed water bottle back here because there's nothing worse than being really hot and not having enough water and being by yourself. I get headaches, dizziness, that kind of stuff from being that level of dehydrated. And when I'm by myself, that's actually very scary. Also, it's a hazard for driving. And so I would rather drink this that has been in my car than to pass out, basically. And I actually do have situations where that has really come in handy. For example, when I was camping at Pinnacles National Park. Now, Pinnacles National Park is inland in California, and it's a completely different climate than the coast nearby. And so at the coast, where I'd been camping previously, it had been 70, 60-ish degrees during the day. In Pinnacles National Park, it was over 100 degrees and I was camping there. It was so hot, but these were my only days to be at that park, and so I did still want to make the best of them. So I did still do some hiking. There are also caves there, which were really nice because the caves stayed cool even when the outside area was super hot, but you did have to still get to the caves. And so I was doing sometimes miles of hiking by myself, which I was in shape and practiced to do, and I took a lot of safety precautions. I wouldn't do those hikes by myself if I didn't know that I could do them physically. Also, it was during times where there were other people there. Obviously, there were other people in the park. It wasn't just like me completely by myself. You were crossing paths with people throughout the traveling and the hiking, but it was still very beneficial to have stuff like this. And especially when you're sort of in a more remote camping location, stuff like this, they way overcharge for in those national park stores. And so this kind of stuff, I don't want to say saved my life, but definitely saved me a lot of energy and made me feel a lot better than I would have been if I hadn't had electrolytes to replenish. The last thing behind my passenger seat is this, which basically slides behind my passenger seat like a drawer. I know it looks a little messy, but I'll take you through what's in here. This is sort of my emergency kit box is what I like to refer to it as. So the first thing in here is a flashlight. Now listen, I know everybody has a flashlight on their phone nowadays, but what happens when your phone dies too, or you're trying to conserve your phone battery. Having something additional as a flashlight is super helpful, and it doesn't have to be that big to be very bright nowadays. The next thing in this kit is a rope. I have not really actually used this rope except for one time to help me hang up a hammock in a tree, but I figure a rope is not a bad thing to have, especially when it comes to, you know, I don't know, really anything, tying things back together, holding things together, securing things to the top of the roof possibly. There are lots of different scenarios where a rope could be really useful, so it's something I choose to keep in my car. Next thing I have in this box is this right here. You can plug this in underneath the steering wheel to check an engine code. So if your check engine light comes on, that could mean a lot of different things, right? There's certain lights that come on, and when we see them come on, we kind of know what's wrong. For example, tire pressure, something's wrong with your tires. It might just be that it's cold out, or it might be that you need to put air in your tires. But the check engine is one of those lights where it could be something really minor or something really major. And so by plugging this thing in and then hitting read, I can actually get a code here that will tell me, if I then Google that code, what is wrong with my car. So this is a way that I can basically self-diagnose what's going on in my car. So I think that's a useful thing to have with you, especially when you do have an older car. The next thing in this little emergency kit, and the second to last thing, is this little orange container. Now this zips up, and then in the inside I have several of these. And what are these? These are for when you get stuck on the side of the road. They have a magnet on the back. They also have a hook. So you can either hang them. So for example, I could hang this right here, or I could magnet it to the outside of the vehicle. And then what happens is you have a power button here, basically, and you can hit the power button. And as you can see, it is now blinking red. It's very bright out right now, so it's a little bit hard to tell, but it has a couple different patterns. So if I click through, you can see all the different patterns. But it has quite a few different ones. It also has a white light that can turn on. These are used as flares if you get stuck on the side of the road. You can attach these to your car just to alert people that you're sitting there on the side of the road. So there are 3 of them that come in this little kit. And like I said before, I'll link everything that I possibly can that I'm showing in my car, or something close to it, in the description down below. That way you guys can easily be twins with me and find these items. Or if you're preparing for a road trip, you can just go down that list, add those to your cart on Amazon, and you'll be ready to go for your road trip. So there are 3 of these in this set, and then it just uses a regular kind of charger. It's one of the ones I showed you guys in my front seat that I can also charge there. I probably charge these once every 6 months, and they still work. Actually, today was kind of an interesting test for me because I definitely know I haven't charged them in 2024 yet, and it is now August, so probably longer than 6 months, but the guide recommends recharging them every couple months. But it's something you could also do while you drive, so you just have to rotate through them because each of them does have to be charged individually. But I did think that was something useful to have if you ever needed to like draw attention to yourself. I suppose there's other situations too where it could be useful, or you could even use these as an extra light or an extra flashlight, honestly, because they do have that bright white light setting on them as well. The last thing I have in here is probably the most expensive thing that I've showed you so far. This is going to be a pair of jumper cables, but this set is a little bit unique and a little bit different than regular car jumping cables. This is what's actually inside that kit. So as you can see, this is what normal jumper cables have, but usually you would have another set of these clips on the other side of your jumper cables, and then you'd connect those to the person who's helping you jump your car's battery. Instead, this is actually a really strong rechargeable battery that you can use to jump your own car. So this really appealed to me because I did not want to be stuck on the side of the road somewhere with my car battery dead, which can happen, especially in an older car, and has happened to me before. Luckily, in that case, I was able to call AAA because I had service. But what if you don't have AAA, or what if they're really far away? Because I have called AAA before and they're like 2 hours away. And I did actually have to wait those 2 hours in that case to have AAA come to me, which is not that fun, to be sitting on a very deserted countryside exit by yourself in your car waiting for 2 hours for AAA to come. not that pleasant of an experience, let's be honest. And so if it's something that I can take care of myself, I would like to be able to, especially jumping your car is very doable for somebody to do. And so this is another one of those things that has to be recharged every couple months. But then once you recharge it every couple months, like, you'll be good to go with this. I've actually never had to use this on my car, but I did actually use it to help somebody else jump their car at one point in time, because using this is also, I think, a lot easier than having to like line up your cars and then attach things to 2 different cars. This, you're just attaching things to one person's car. So I have actually successfully used it for somebody else to help them. The other nice feature of this is it has a really bright flashlight built into it as well, which has been helpful to use. You can unplug this, obviously, and then use it just as a really bright light, which is definitely helpful, especially when you're camping. And then also there are 2 USB ports in here. So let's say that you forgot to charge your phone, or you need to charge your phone overnight and you're camping and you don't want to let your car run idle overnight, obviously, then this is basically an extra backup battery pack that you can use. So that is something. And one of the more expensive things I bought for this trip, I think this was around $70 at the time I bought it. I will link the one I have down below. One of the other reasons I chose this specific one was because this one is waterproof. So if your car got flooded or rained on, or realistically, let's be honest, a water bottle just leaked in your car and spilled on it, none of those things would destroy this battery. It's also one that has a very high temperature range that it operates at. So a battery can be temperature sensitive. That's why some people keep batteries in the fridge. And that's also why sometimes you see sort of batteries explode or weird orange crusty stuff coming out of them at high temperatures. So I wanted to make sure that whatever I got had a really high rating or a really high range for temperatures that it could work in, because I knew that I would be driving my car in temperatures that were below freezing at times, and also temperatures that were above 100 at times. And my car can easily heat up to well over 100 degrees when the temperature outside is so high as it is today, where sweat is basically dripping down me as I film this video. So that is everything I have for you in the back seat, or the body of the car. Now we can move to the trunk, because I have a few things in there as well to show you.